Earlier this week, I was invited by EA to try out the new Season 7 content for Battlefield 2042 ahead of its launch on March 19th. It came along with a new map, new weapons, new battle pass, and operators and more, and today we're going to be showcasing all of it, so as we go along, drop your thoughts down below. What do you think of what you're going to see here? Are you going to jump in for the launch of Season 7? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts down below, and do me the biggest favor and drop a like if you enjoy the video, or you just enjoy the expanded FPS content here on the channel. Helps out the video big time, and of course, subscribe for more coverage and first looks. For now, let's jump into Season 7 of Battlefield 2042. So, Season 7 brings along a new map of Haven, the weapons of the AK-5C, the SCZ-3, DFR Strife at mid-season, along with the SRAW at launch, the XFAD Draugr Bomber in-season, and some more other stuff. So, bring this stuff down in a little bit more focused detail. Haven has been inspired by previous maps of Erica Harbor, Strike at Karkand, and Amiens. Narratively, the map is a small oasis village harboring the access to the largest subterranean reservoirs in the world, but as a map breakdown, you of course have your key sectors denoted by the flag locations. Flag A of gas station is open surrounding areas, but some close quarters fights can be had in the buildings and the crates. This can be overlooked by the hillsides, so for things like rush, if your team isn't that great or they don't have a concise effort to push forward into the map, you can be trapped there as an attacking side. Flag B of the crash site, this is one that's a bit interesting because the flag itself is sat right in the sort of basin of a hillside where incoming fire can overlook it, but you also have cover of that down plane, that two-story building, so it's an open area but also can provide for cover where necessary. Flag C of the town center, this is where you get into a bit more of that close quarters combat because while open in terms of like the market street side, you can take aim with an SMG or rifle and dominate here. It's close quarters enough that both can work. Verticality can be an issue if you're trying to take the flag, however, so be careful. Flag D of Oasis, the Oasis flats themselves are interesting because you have this buildup of some industrial cover, but ultimately it's still lowlands by comparison to the rest of the map and a bit more open. The hillside balconies can make for some difficult pushes if you have a decent enough team holding those angles, but it still has its flank routes. And then Flag E of checkpoint at the edge of the map here for the opposite side of the spawns. It again has a bit more low ground, but in the manner similar to Flag A, where you can hold that hillside overlooking E and kind of try and control that, but at the end of the day, there is still enough cover and terrain that it could be a non-issue as well. All depends on how you play it. Now, the new weapons of the AK-5C, the AR is accurate and meant for close and mid-range. We'll go more into detail in my thoughts here in those in a second. The SCZ-3 is a versatile SMG. The drum mag makes it killer. That's one of the best things to put on it. And the Predator SRAW is a laser-guided rocket launcher. Now, the Battle Pass is, of course, something of how you unlock these weapons, the cosmetics, and new other things that come along with the season. So on screen, you'll see some of that stuff going by. And for some reason, I was invited to their short creator code test window here. So while I don't think rarely covering Battlefield, I'm any sort of creator worthy of being in a small batch test of it, if you guys do decide to jump in, you want to try out the season and maybe pick up the Battle Pass or something else, using code Espresso can directly support the channel and content if you'd like. Zero need to, just thought I'd throw that out there. Appreciate the invite, EA, but also I'm really confused as to why I'm in on that. But anyways, breezing past that, in season we are going to see that new LMG of the DFR Strife. That being a belt-fed weapon with the rifle mobility but magazine capacity of an LMG. So while it's not coming at launch, I'm excited to jump back in at mid-season or something here to see when that actually does come, how it plays out. And the bomber of the XFAD-4 Draugr is an aerial bomber that includes EMP bombs and radar-guided missiles, but again is coming at mid-season. Now, that said, in mid-season, we do also have a secondary map, and we'll touch on in a second here that I don't quite like how this was marketed. It was marketed as a new map, but the stadium from Hourglass is going to be returning as its own sort of map, infantry only, so it'll be cool for those gunfights and everything, and Hourglass's stadium was a solid POI that people did enjoy, so like, it's nice that it's coming back, but again, it's not really new. So that's something to look forward to, I guess, in mid-season as well. And then finally, the last thing is the new recoil. Honestly, I didn't notice it a whole ton. Granted, I again jump in from time to time and play Battlefield. It's not something like I'm grinding it every single day. So it might just be me, but legitimately I did actually have to come back to my notes to see, okay, what did I miss not talking about here and what did I not put in this video? And that was one of those things. So it is something you might notice it. Again, personally speaking, just because I don't grind Battlefield like I used to way back in the day anymore, that in the like hour and a half that we had to play, I didn't notice it a whole ton. Now, that said, actually I want to start out this sort of review portion here of this and my thoughts on the season at large with some things that I'm not a fan of firstly. We usually do this the other way around where I start with stuff I like and then work my way into it. But I do think it's important to start out here with this of the things that I'm not a fan of, because again, I'm not the biggest grinder of Battlefield anymore. I'm more of a top level fan as of recent years. I don't think that I've actively invested into Battlefield since like Battlefield 4. So I'm not nearly in tune with things as much as maybe I'd like to be or have super deep critiques. But for me, I see new gameplay items, I jump on, check it out, and that's kind of the end of it. Then I'll jump in sporadically throughout the season as things continue to roll out to get my fix of destruction, play some mouse and keys, whereas like if COD I'm playing, I'll play on controller, but you get where I'm at with that. But I am not a fan at all of this being marketed that maps, plural, were going to be coming within Season 2 as new maps. The stadium, as I said, is pretty cool that it is something that is returning. It is something people liked out of Hourglass, but one, it's not at launch, and to me, it just seems disingenuous to say this is new in and of itself, because whether intentional or not, and sure, yes, there is some stuff that may be added to the map, but grand scheme of things, it's not new. I think I saw somewhere that 2042 went like 170-ish days or something without content updates, and so there was this long gap, and with a new season promising more, it seems like the wrong approach in messaging to hype people up even further and then just kind of under-deliver on some of those promises. I don't know what more to say other than that, because like it does seem like this is kind of in line with what we've seen for each season of Battlefield. Gotta love live service games. And yes, there was sarcasm on that, but like, I'm not quite sure why they wanted to push it like there was more, because I mean, that only ends up hurting the image of the season as a whole. But while thinking about it, honestly, I think my gripes are just with the messaging primarily. I will say I welcome another map, because while on one hand, I think that my not new thoughts are valid, it's also something that the area wasn't given a whole ton of love when it was a part of Hourglass, because it was such a large map, and for some, it wasn't even there, as Xbox One and PS4 versions didn't allow for 128 player matches where you'd find Stadium in the first place. And now having this as a standalone infantry only map, I think it can be seen as a positive. Again, it just boils down to the messaging so far out, in my opinion, getting people excited for the next season, thinking there'd be two brand new maps, but one is still relatively familiar for longtime players or specific types of players. Beyond that, I found the new map to be kind of hit or miss in some of my gameplay situations. The incredible duality of doing well versus not. And you'll see what I mean, because like this is something that I put in the things that I'm not too fond of, but at the same time, when we get to the things I am fond of, the map's still partially there as well. But I feel like if you had teammates and map control, it's a great map. It's going to be one that's a lot of fun. But conversely, if your team isn't great or isn't making massive pushes to control and capture the either conquest points or rush bomb sites, you name it, I feel like you're just going to be pushed into some spawn traps almost. The verticality of the upper hillsides and the 2 to 3 story buildings aren't like an overwhelming amount of verticality, but it's enough cover that it can produce a harder to hit head glitch in situations, power positions that are tough to break, and so on. Also, it's very easy to get terrorized by helicopters if no one is making an effort to shoot those down, because again, it is a relatively open map despite having so many smaller buildings to weave in and out of. But that said, things I am a fan of here out of the season. Again, while I have my gripes with the map, I do also think it's a solid paced map that can be enjoyable for just about any style of play. I kind of found it accommodating to those close quarters, medium range, and long range, and also the vehicle play as well. Close quarters, you have the ability to weave in and out of those staircases, those buildings around mid-map, easily picking players off. Medium range, you have the ability to gun people in the streets, in the lower Oasis Basin, up on the rooftops, you name it. There's plenty of medium range engagements and gunfights to be had. Long range, if you're a sniper, there's plenty of long range positions as well, and plenty that overlook engagements on the lower elevations. Like I said, a little bit of everything for everyone in terms of that gunplay, but when you look at vehicle play, tanks still have a place that, while limited in some of those closer quarters, built up areas, it's still valid. And like I said, helos can just absolutely bully people if you're not being shot down at that point. So if you are somebody that's really good with a helo, you might have a blast here on this map. Again, bit of everything for everybody. Personally, I was also a fan of the weaponry too. Not a huge launcher guy, so I didn't play around with the SRA all that much, but I played almost exclusively in our, again, hour and a half, 2 hour play session with the AK-5C and the SCZ-3. For range, the AK-5C was solid. I'll be honest, there's not many weapons in Battlefield 2042 that I feel are like super OP or ones that are absolutely worth using in the rifle category. And this is one of those kind of ones. It's a solid, probably middle of the pack weapon, slightly above middle perhaps, in the rifle category, easy to use, has good handling, and relatively easy to control recoil. And the SCZ-3 was actually really good with the round drum, increasing that ammo capacity, and the range of it is actually pretty solid as well for an SMG. So in the right hands, it's deadly. maybe not mine, but some of the literal pros that I played against in our early capture session put me to shame with it. So that's something that if you're good, you can do well at this as well. So at launch, there's some stuff that tide you over. It's probably not the biggest offering that a lot of players may have been hoping for in regards to Season 7. And that, again, after that long 160, 170 day content drought period. So it is what it is, but that's what we have here on offer. And again, a little bit coming more so in season that has been debuted already. But for now, that is Season 7 turning point of Battlefield 2042. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down below. What do you guys think here of the content at hand? You're gonna be jumping in and trying it out. Again, for me, I'm taking this more so at top level. I'm not as invested in 2042. I think that fundamentally and gameplay wise, it's better than where it was at launch. But again, live season stuff here is still a little bit disappointing in terms of that content offering and then some of the messaging behind it. So I'll be jumping in, trying it out a little bit. Probably not going to be grinding this season out a whole ton. But yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Battlefield 2042. A lot of other FPS content here if that's not your cup of tea. Whatever the case, I'd love to have you in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.